Corey Foster here with my lovely wife Leslie and Sapphire Stockman, on-site coordinator for immersion programs. And we are 1 week into our medical Spanish immersion program here in Granada. So we've got 2 weeks here in Nicaragua, and then the program moves down south to Costa Rica to finish out. And we thought it'd be a good idea just to share some reflections and some I guess lessons we've been learning and reminded of this week as we've been working with one particular population on the outskirts of Granada, which is, it's called El Pantanal, literally means the swamp, but it's a community of folks that are really limited resource, and we've been working alongside a school there in that community, talking with the families, the parents, about how to live more healthfully with limited resources. And so that conversation has naturally gone toward diet and exercise to prevent some of the common illnesses that are in the community: obesity, diabetes, hypertension, cardiovascular problems, etc. So one of the main points that I was reminded of, and you probably experience this too at times, is that when you spend a lot of time in your field with your expertise, you take a lot of things for granted. You might assume that other people are speaking your same language. But really, when you start to then share your expertise with someone who doesn't share all of your knowledge or your experience within a field, it's kind of tough to communicate directly. You have to spend some time getting someone up to speed. And so to illustrate, like, we're teachers, we have a circle of other professional instructors around us when it comes to language instruction, and we have a shared set of vocabulary, we have shared assumptions and ideas about the best way to teach language to someone who's trying to learn it as their second or third language. And when we move then out of that circle, we get reminded really quickly that some of the things that we take for granted and assume are just the way you do things, you kind of have to go back and lay some more groundwork before you can get to like the real conversation you're trying to have. And it stood out to me. I mean, you probably have noticed things like that in your career, in your field of expertise. It stood out to me that, you know what, that's actually really what happens all the time when you're working with people, whether they're from a different culture or even just living in a different context, in a different situation than you. And it is, when you're working with folks, especially who have a different primary language, the opportunity is ripe for misunderstandings based on your expertise and someone else's not expertise in a topic. So as we were talking about diet and exercise, a few things came up that were like, oh yeah, I guess we have to talk about this too, because this isn't a shared assumption that we have. So Sapphire, what was some of the things that came up to you as we were working with the community this past week in Pantanal?
Yeah, I think definitely some of the things that we were reminded of that our medical group needed to go back to the basics sort of, was the idea of the amount of calories that should be consumed in a day. For many medical students or medical providers, it seems probably, like you're saying, something that's very general knowledge, but they had to go back to the basics and set that groundwork with the idea of how many calories should be consumed in a day. And then also the other idea that we were reminded of was that a lot of times the focus in certain communities or specific communities that we're doing work in is not necessarily on the value of those calories or even having the idea of differentiation of calories. Rather, it's more on not feeling hungry and, what can we eat in a day. And so there was, even some talk about what calories are good, what calories are not good, or what are better calories or better foods to include. on a daily basis, which might seem like something super basic for the professionals in our group. They did a really wonderful job of coming across these topics with the community, and I think, like you said, when there's a language barrier, there's just a lot of opportunity for misconception and miscommunication. It's really great to have those reminders and ideas up front, to be able to touch on those, whereas to one it might be common knowledge, for somebody else it could sound completely new. And so I think that was a great reminder of the work that our group did this week and in Thompson, definitely.
It was, and we saw it in one of the specific scenarios or situations where this idea came up was one of the moms was very concerned about her daughter who's gaining a lot of weight, and she can't figure out, what's going on because she's been cutting back her food so that she doesn't get fat or fatter. And so it came up in conversation, well, what is she drinking? And well, it turns out that it's always soda pop. I mean, okay, typical evil, right? Sodas. But it was just that, the connection that not understanding that drink, and in fact, all the other even homemade juices that are full of sugar are actually not great for you because of the high amount of calories in them. So that's exactly what it was, right? This connection between total number of calories, but well, gosh, this person is actually consuming 2-3 times the number of calories they need per day just in drinks, let alone food.
There was a big disconnect in empty calories. The whole concept of empty calories didn't really exist. So I think a big takeaway that they came away with was, we can really maximize our caloric intake by nutrient-rich fruits and vegetables, which they have tons of opportunity and access to. So that was a big takeaway.
Yeah, it was, absolutely. One of the other things that we learned, or were reminded of anyway, this week was when you think about how you help and motivate people to make change, it was pretty clear as we were talking with this group over the course of the week that, adults will make their decisions, they're responsible, they will do what they do and, live the consequences of it. But as soon as you start talking about healthy life and healthy habits for your children, that's a really motivating factor. And you saw an example of that too, didn't you, Leslie?
Yeah, we were talking about what little changes could they make to their diet as far as modificaciones, little switches or changes. And they were coming up with these fantastic ideas. And out of a group of 25, the majority were mothers in there. I would say there are 2 men in there, but they're mothers. And so these mothers are saying, I add vainicas or green beans to my eggs. And another mother said, I add spinach to my eggs. And they're saying that's fantastic to get all those nutrients. And then each of those mothers followed with, but my kids don't like them. It was just a great opportunity as a mother myself to 3 kids. I think, we're instilling healthy eating habits for their future. And so it's a great opportunity to talk about, tomorrow, when you say, eat your eggs with spinach or vainicas, they may, may put up a huelga, strike against that, but to really encourage their kids and not put up with it, because in the future, you're looking at the long-term health impacts that parents can have from an early age, influencing their kids' healthy eating habits, and down the road, future diseases and illnesses could be prevented by laying the foundation now in the families. So
yeah, and it wasn't a tough sell either. As soon as the perspective shifted from "Ay, pobrecito, we don't want him to be hungry," to "Oh yeah, this actually does matter in the long run," there was great buy-in. Right?
Yeah.
A couple of other misconceptions that kind of popped up that caught us off guard, or was very interesting to us as a group, that you might want to be aware of as you're working with patients. One was that this idea that's apparently common knowledge in this community anyway, that you can't exercise if you're hypertensive because it's bad for you. So if you have high blood pressure, exercise is bad. which is what we understand as like completely opposite. It's really good to exercise because it can help you lower your blood pressure. So that might be something that as you're interacting with patients and speaking to them about healthy habits, if they are hypertensive, you might just ask them what they think about exercise and high blood pressure, if they feel like it's safe, and you can do some patient education there around that. Another one, which we've actually experienced more than once as we've received people from Central America into our home also, is that this idea that vegetables can't fill you up. It's not a real meal if it's not hot and rice and beans and that kind of stuff. But the idea that you actually can have a nutritious and well-balanced and meal that gives you energy and strengthens you in a salad kind of thing. So it's very, very countercultural in a lot of ways. But anyway, it's been a great week. It's been fun to work with the folks on the program and to experience the community of Pantanal, get to know people, and rub shoulders with them. We will give you another update next Friday. This weekend, we're headed to Isla Ometepe, which is a volcanic island about 15 kilometers into Lake Nicaragua. So we're going to get out there, spend some time on the beach and freshwater, and maybe climb some volcanoes and go swim in some natural springs. So we'll give you an update next viernes. Thanks for joining us. Feliz viernes y buen fin de semana. Hasta luego. I wanted to invite you to join our community if you're not a member of the Facebook group already, that I deliver these live lessons in on most every Friday. And also point you to the website where you can find a bunch more information about medical Spanish, whether that be courses or free materials for you, or finding a private tutor to work with you online or face-to-face. And also let you know about some amazing Spanish immersion programs, either you as a medical person or your significant other as working in some other industry, or your family. If you want to improve your Spanish and you have time and budget to go do some travel, our programs are pretty amazing. I think it'd be fun to work with you. And finally, if you have some document work at your clinic or at your hospital or within your setting that needs to be professionally translated, shoot me a message, upload your document to us, and we can get you a quick quote and help you out with your Spanish language documents as well. Have a great day.